Hi cupcakes, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. This video is sponsored by Skillshare and I will be getting into a few of the details about that amazing platform a little bit later on. This is a topic that is very close to my heart. I suppose I could say everything I talk about on YouTube is a topic that is close to my heart, but this one really pulls me and pushes me and asks me to really examine some of the things in my own life that have led me to the point of believing that play in art is so sacred. It's a form of worship, it's a form of ritual, it's a form of liberation. And I think sometimes play in art is the only way to get through the door between yourself and full healing of your inner artist. So I want to talk about that a bit today. I want to get into that a bit. I think I want to make some other videos about this as well, where I talk more about art and ritual and explaining my own ritual process. But first of all, I just wanted to say something about the permission that people are not giving themselves to just experiment, just try things, just literally don't have an aim at all when it comes to your writing, your painting, your, song compositions. I think that's something that I see a lot when I'm doing my work in spiritual counseling that really pains me to see, because it's something that we can grant ourselves and it's something that sometimes we don't realize we're missing. In my life, creative play, what it looks like is it's basically me just sitting around for a while, experimenting, putting different things together. I'm a collage and mixed media artist, right? So I'm also a poet as well. So for me, it looks like sitting down, playing with collections of words, fragments of different scraps of ideas that I've had that I've put in the notes section of my phone, maybe doing some cut-ups, putting words together that shouldn't be together, just mangling things, And with my collage work, it usually looks like cutting things out of magazines, playing around with compositions without sticking anything down to the cardboard, really just idling, dawdling, lollygagging, darling, dilly-dallying, my love, just really not having a fucking aim and really coming to the creative process in a way that is very pleasantly idle. I think creative play for a lot of people is such a distant luxury. It's such an unnecessary decadence. That idea that you would just be messing around with a melody on your guitar, or you would just be playing around with words by going through a book, grabbing a book off the bookshelf, going through it, and just picking out words at random and putting them together in a sentence, just to see, just to have a little look at what might happen there. That the idea of allowing yourself to have time doing that, just seeing what happens with absolutely no aim for any outcome. For a lot of people, that is just not okay. For one reason or another, we so often have this feeling that we need to know where it's going. We need to know that by the end of that expenditure of our time and energy, we will have produced something worthwhile, or we will at least be able to see that we are going to produce something worthwhile in the next session. So it might not be that we're pressuring ourselves to have a project that is finished, but we want to be able to show our workings. We want to be able to prove that the time and the energy and the effort we've put in was well spent, that there's going to be some payoff. Whether we want to prove that for ourselves, or whether we feel like we want to prove it for our spouse who's imminently coming home, or for our friends who are going to ask us what we did at the weekend, or maybe it's our inner child that wants to be able to tell our parent that we did something of worth, we did something of merit. So I think for too many people, the idea of just idly dawdling through creative notions and just keeping it very kind of cloud hopping is something that is a very distant decadence. That's something for the Dauphin of France in the 1700s, darling, before the revolution. That's not something for us, that's something that Marie Antoinette might have enjoyed, but for us to be able to do it, no, there's such a cap on time and energy that we need to be able to prove we did what we wanted to do and we did what we said we were going to do. We did something that we can exhibit to ourselves or someone else, as if to say, that's what I did with my time. I can measure it. It's quantifiable what I did with that time. But actually, that's very intimidating. For a lot of people, ironically, it is artistic play that they really need, because if they don't let themselves play, it's almost like they are not allowing themselves to loosen up, you know? There's a lot of tension in there. If you really feel like, okay, if I'm going to take time to do an art session, I really need to decide on the idea. I need to be revved up for the idea. I need to have a clear picture of how it's going to go. You know, all of that stuff is really intimidating. And so ironically, a lot of people that don't let themselves engage in creative play are the same people who don't let themselves engage in serious art making either. Because they need to do the creative play. They need to do a little bit of loosey-goosey interpretive dancing before they can go in more seriously and say, I'm going to Fred Astaire this shit, you know? So we have to do one before we can do the other. If you know that you just need to have a play, you just need to loosen up and have a play, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, but I have that feeling inside of like, what if it wasn't worth anything? What if I didn't come up with anything? What if what I produce is bad? Okay. What I really want to stress to you is that the best idea is to make it your conscious, decided mission not to produce anything. Okay, in creative play, the best way to do it is to consider yourself banned from any impressive outcome. Like that's literally not the point. It wouldn't even be a nice bonus. Just cut it out of your aim completely. When I have a creative play session, I really do not want to be focused on like, well, maybe a great poem could come out of it. Maybe I could end up doing a really good collage, you know, maybe that might happen. No, I'm banned from it. That's not the point. The point is to play around. The point is to just enjoy sumptuously the use of time, not in the service of creating anything finished, anything impressive, anything I'm pleased with, anything to add to my body of work, but purely so I can just be in my creative beingness. I can just let my inner artist come to the front and enjoy the materials. Just enjoy, you know, it's a gift to my inner artist, I think. And that's really what I kind of want to impress upon people in this video who might be understanding on some level that creative play sounds good, and even your nervous system is doing something really pleasurable as you're thinking about engaging in a session of creative play. I really want to stress to you that it can be your very conscious mission not to make anything of worth, you know, in your eyes, you know, that idea of like, well, it's got to be of worth. It's got to be something completed. It's got to be something I'm pleased with. That's not the aim of creative play. We need to really take the power back in that regard. In my world, I think I've only really had a successful session of playful art making, you know, playful creativity, if all I did was wander around the process aimlessly and not come up with anything much that I feel might be a completed project. It's just, you know, I got some feelings out during the process. I thought about what is coming to me that's inspiring. I thought about what I like, what I don't like, what I want to do more of. And that's basically it, you know, and then I come to the end of whatever time I was spending being in my creativity. I've been calling it creative play so far in this video, but I'm sure that's a term that's already used and it means something completely different. But you know what I mean, like just playful art making. I think that for me, I've only succeeded in that if I really feel at the end of it like I was playing, I wasn't working. For a lot of people, the idea of having playtime for an artistic endeavor, time where you're not trying to produce anything, is quite sweat inducing, you know, because we do feel often like we have a deficit of time and a deficit of energy, or maybe a deficit of time alone in the home or whatever it might be. And so we really want to pack as much of a powerful punch into that time as possible. We want to feel that it was not squandered. And that's why I'm kind of trying to stress to you that we can really make it our conscious mission that we intend to playfully squander the time. That's the point of the exercise. It's not a mistake that we wouldn't have come up with anything by the end. I think it's really healthy, to be honest, for people, like let's say for visual artists, for example, I think it's really healthy if they have a sketchbook or an art journal where the entire process of anything that they do in that book is just to fuck around and find out. That's literally what the book is there for. I think it's good to have some silly time, some loosey-goosey time, some time where you might try out like some old materials that you found in a suitcase or something new that you bought that you feel like you might want to try, you know. For example, if you buy a pack of like charcoal pencils rather, or you buy a pack of chalks or some new material, right? It's a new artistic format. You haven't played with it before. Or you get a new instrument, you get a new synth, you get a new whatever it is you get. You're really going to want to go into just like you know, playful abandon there because you don't know the parameters of that tool or instrument yet. So it's really important to be able to just drop your shoulders, loosen up, and play as a child would play, with deep curiosity, with that really like fizzy inquisitiveness that makes you go, oh, what is that? Oh, what is it? Oh, okay. Oh, that's, yeah, okay, I can get into that, you know, rather than feel this pressure. How many people watching this video, because I know I've done this, how many people watching this have bought something to use for some kind of artistic intention and left it for weeks or maybe even months? You're looking at it in the bag or by the bed or by the door, you know it's there. You've put it on the kitchen table maybe, but you haven't done anything with it. And every time you get some spare time, you think, I need to watch some videos about that. I need to learn how it works. I need to get the hang of it. I need to, you know, I'm not comfortable to engage with it yet. That's because we're not taking an attitude of the playful artist to that instrument, to that tool, to that format. We really need to be dancing up to it like the Mad Hatter and just being like, what the fuck is this got to give me? Let's have a little look. Where's the dormouse in this teapot, baby? Let's go. We have to be very sort of, we have to be very Alice in Wonderland about it. We have to go down the rabbit hole and see. And far too many people, I think, feel that that kind of attitude is the kind of attitude that is only for children. We should encourage that attitude of play and experimentation in children. But when we get to adulthood, we really need to know what we're doing. There has to be a more sophisticated process. No, there fucking doesn't. No, there doesn't. And honestly, I've left things for ages. This is not just with art, but this is obviously the topic for this video. But it's also been with like my language learning, for example, has been a thing. All kinds of different stuff in my life. I've been like, right, I've got something for that. I intend to do that, but I don't know what I'm doing yet. Maybe I need to learn, you know, for example, with my language learning, maybe it would be something like, I need to learn the skeleton of a language. I need to understand how a language works, you know? I need to understand this and that, how many tenses, whatever. When really I could just dive in and like learn 20 words for a kickoff just to get over the fear, you know? And I feel like it's the same with any artistic format, with any instrument or tool of my creativity. That idea that I need to approach it in this really sophisticated manner may stop me from approaching it at all. I mean, of course I intend to level up, you know, but that will be as I go along. It shouldn't be like, oh, I can't touch that because I need to have leveled up in it. You're not going to. You're right at the beginning. And I think if you make the decision by the end of watching this video that you're going to have a playful artistic session where you just literally muck about and then pack the stuff up and go back to your life, you know, without your magnum opus having been created by the end of it, if you make that decision, then you've actually made a decision that you do not want to pressure yourself to approach something with sophistication and with the perceived necessary maturity that an adult would approach it. You're going to approach it kind of like in a wild, playful, perhaps juvenile way, maybe a bit of an infantile way. Why not? I mean, why should children be the only ones that get to like have a go and just see how it goes without that pressure to achieve and know your aims and, you know, go steadfastly towards the finish line? Why should children be the only ones who can just like idle away an afternoon in the sunshine, for example, in the back garden by just having a little paint? You know, nothing much else to it, not some big plan, not some big ambitious project, but just for the sake of itself. We're just doing it for the sake of itself. Why should we not have that just because we're adults and we're plugged into the capitalist cog machine? In the kind of like style blogging world, there's this concept of shopping your closet, which is basically where instead of succumbing to the urge to buy new clothes, you go into your closet and you just start playing with what you already have and you create different outfits, you match things together that you wouldn't usually, and you have this kind of creative time where you come away feeling like you've actually shopped your closet. You've gone into your own clothes that you already own and you feel like you bought something, and you actually bought nothing. You just reacquainted yourself with what was already there. I kind of did that today by going into the box behind the box under my bed of dresses that I haven't seen in a while and feeling like this little number is the one. So consider my closet shopped, baby. But I really like that notion. I call it having a try-on session. And I have a try-on session probably about once every 6 to 8 weeks. Here at Planet Maddox, okay, here at Maddox HQ, I like to try my fucking clothes on with each other and then switch the shoes out and then get the jewelry out. It's so soothing for me. It appeals to my inner child, it appeals to my inner artist, and it appeals to the witch that I very much am. I love the notion that clothing is powerful, that it can make you feel different, it can make you think differently. And I'm just curious about colours, and I'm curious about how things go together. And I love to remember things I'd forgotten. And I kind of want to take that same feeling that I get from a try-on session or from shopping my closet, as it were. I want to take that same feeling and I want to apply it to these sort of fun, playful art sessions, the playful artist archetype. You know, what appeals to the playful artist is like, I wonder if that would go there and that would go, oh yeah, no, well, okay, let me add that. No, let me take that out. You know, and by the end of it, you feel your brain is absolutely lit up with fizzy, phosphorescent beauty, you know, but on paper, maybe you haven't achieved anything. I think it can be really useful to consider what we learned about making art when we were children. And this isn't going to be the case for everyone. Some people are not going to feel like they need to do this as part of their process. But I feel like for a lot of people, it's worthwhile. Like, for example, some of you will not have been encouraged in your art making at all when you were children. You're going to have distinctly felt that your art was overlooked, that your parents like didn't care about it or couldn't care about it, or your caregivers couldn't care about it for whatever reason. You might have had a perfectionistic parent who was very much like over your shoulder while you were making art, trying to tell you how to do it correctly. If so, I'm very sorry, that's really shit. I know some people had a parent or caregiver, primary caregiver, who was very worried about the mess that art would create. And therefore they never really, you know, got a sheet out on the floor or cleared off the kitchen table and allowed you to just play, because play creates mess. And a parent with anxiety around mess is going to very much put that emotional burden onto you. Even if they do allow you to be playful with some paint at the kitchen table, you're going to feel that you shouldn't really be doing that. You know, you're going to take that on because children are little walking third eyes and they know what is up, you know. I know a shit ton of people were discouraged from pursuing art in a more serious way once they got to kind of like adolescence. They were discouraged from taking a degree in the arts. They were discouraged from investing too much time or money or energy into the arts because it's not a proper job, you know, it won't give you stability, it's not serious. And that very much links back to this attitude that I think some of us are dealing with and trying to break away from, this attitude that art is for children. Art is for that kind of luxury time that you have before shit gets real. And don't get me wrong, I know for a lot of us shit got very real when we were children, but I mean insofar as like we didn't have jobs, you know. I mean, you know what I mean. We weren't like living independently. Like, believe me, shit got very real when I was a kid. So please don't think, if you haven't been around here for very long, please don't think I'm sitting here like I had some perfect fucking idyllic childhood, okay? And I'm like, oh, childhood was wonderful, I just sat around and painted. No, childhood was a very fucking bumpy ride for me, okay? But I did have more time to, and I was encouraged more in just fucking around with some paint. I mean, you know, because you're a child, like what else are you going to be doing? That's what you're supposed to be doing, I guess. So there is very much this sense that like one puts childish things away at a certain age. And the idea that a lot of people were raised with is that like fucking the arts is the childish thing. Like, no one's got time. Who's got time for that? I've spoken to loads of clients in my spiritual counseling practice who were told that explicitly as they went into adulthood. Like, put that down. There's no time for that. That's silly. Just put that away. What, are you writing a poem? What the fuck? What do you mean you're writing a poem? Like, that was literally the attitude that they had in their house. And it breaks my heart. And for me, it wasn't so much that. I wasn't discouraged in my art. Certainly the arts were respected when I was growing up. You know, my primary caregivers and my extended caregiving circle were about art. But the interesting thing for me is twofold when it comes to my inner child and art. The first thing is that I only really saw adults making art when they were career artists. So that, I think, had an effect on me. Like, I never saw, for example, I had an uncle who was a full-time artist. I had an uncle who was a full-time author, right? Very, very cool to have that kind of example in my upbringing of how you can make money doing this shit. It can be really serious, you know, if you want to take it in that direction, which I partly did. So that's great. But my mum is very artistically minded, but only ever made art for me. You know, she would make me those cardboard dollies that you put the clothes on. She would draw out the doll on cardboard and then make all the clothing. She was great at it. She did it for me and my sister a couple of times, and it was amazing. But she never did anything like for herself, you know, artistically. I only saw adults taking art seriously when the art was fucking serious because it paid the rent. You know what I mean? So I think that had an effect on me. I also dealt with an extremely narcissistic primary caregiver. And I always felt like my art just had to reflect very well on them, you know, like they wanted to take emotional credit for my artistic achievement. And so I felt like I really wanted to make sure the art was mature and it was good and it was probably above what someone in my age group could do. And I wanted to get it right and I wanted it to be good so I could show it to them and I could get the love that they were withholding from me, except when I did something that appeased their sense of themselves. If you have a narcissistic parent, you know what the fuck I'm talking about, okay? It's really unpleasant. So there was that too. I had to really heal my inner child and my wounded inner artist by sitting them both down and being like, you know what? That bastard ain't home no more. We're going to do it our way now. And we're going to play. Not everything has to be perfect. Not everything has to be something that you know will appease someone's fragile sense of self. This is about you, and it's about fun, and it's about joy, and it's about color, and it's about experimenting, baby. So I had to really reparent myself. And I suppose my message with this video is, if you need to do that for yourself, you can do that too. Darlings, I'm very grateful to say this video is sponsored by Skillshare, an amazing online learning platform with tons of different courses to help you be more creative and to take your ambitions and projects over the finish line. I very much love this platform. There's so many different courses. There's courses on cooking, there's courses on art stuff, there's social media and business development stuff. Honestly, I'm really amazed every time I go on there at the sheer amount of wonderful, thoughtful content. And because this is an art video, I wanted to mention a couple of art courses today. The first one is 10-minute art journaling, a 7-day challenge to conquer artist block. This course was created by Ashton Womack, who's an artist and pattern designer. I really love this one because I think a lot of people find art journaling fairly intimidating and they worry about starting and about being consistent and they worry about perfectionism and stuff like that. So it's really good to see Ashton offering really simple techniques, including the 1-minute page technique, which I thought was a great part of this course. There's also color collages in there and information about how to alter photographs. So you've got a lot of good stuff going on in that one. The next course I wanted to mention is Expressive Sketches in Mixed Media by Onmar Wynn, who's an illustrator, an artist and educator. This particular course helps you to compose butterflies, flowers and landscapes in your art journal, and you'll get a lot of great information in the course about the materials that you can use. You'll see demos of butterflies, flowers and landscapes being created. But the best thing about this course is the part on pre-prepared backgrounds. I've been using this technique in my own art practice and finding it really helpful to give dynamism and engagement to the piece before I've even started making the main composition. So definitely check that out. Check out all the other courses available. If you're one of the first 1,000 people to click the link in my description, then you can get a month's free trial on Skillshare and try out all of the courses for yourself, get into it, see if it's something that you want to continue with. It's an affordable platform anyway for everything that you get included, but I think a 1-month free trial, can't say fairer than that, custard creams. Okay, let's get back to the video. I think we can all stand to just basically ask our inner child, you know, what do you want? And I think make it more specific as well. If we're talking about artistic play, I would consider asking my inner child, and I do this essentially when I have my artistic playtime. I ask my inner child, you know, we're just going to play around. What do you want to play with? Not what do you want to make, what do you want to achieve? You know, what kind of thing have you got in your head that you want to do? But specifically, what would you like to play with today? As though my art materials or my poetry, scrapbook or whatever are toys. They're toys. We're not going to be achieving anything of worldly merit right now, young inner child. We are playing. We're here to have a fucking good time. We're here for a good time, not a long time, baby. So it's specifically in the wording that I choose and the way that I present the question to my inner child. What do you want to play with today? And if my inner child says, I want to get out all those little bits of collage, all those faces that I've cut out, and I just want to go through them and I want to just feel into them, you know, I want to get that gold paint out and I just want to like scrappily use it. I want to put it on my hands. My inner child told me this morning that actually she wants to do some kind of project where she can put the gold all over her hands and maybe her face. So that's interesting. And I said, we're not doing that, babe, because I've got a lot of other things to do, but I will keep it in mind for the next playtime. That's a really, really awesome idea. So I'll be doing something with that. But yeah, I think asking your inner child, like, how would you like to have a good time today? What would you like to play with? We're going to have some art playtime. What's the idea that you have in mind? If you want to have some arty, creative playtime, make sure that you have allowed yourself to have as much of a desirable environment as possible. You might feel that you only want to have creative playtime when you're on your own, like when there's not someone in the other room, for example. You might feel like you want to have creative playtime feel a little bit like a ritual. I know that for me, that's the case. I like my candles, my incense. I like my words of power before I start the process, that kind of thing. You might feel that you just want to get a specific area of your home organized in order to do creative playtime. Or you might feel like you actually don't want your arty playtime to be in the home at all. I know that I have had some of my most experimental sojourns into poetic playtime when I've been at a cafe or a bar or on the beach or whatever. I really love to go out to have poetry playtime. It is absolutely the tits, guys. It's so good. I realize just how stuck in the mud I can be when I'm in my own home. Doing whatever I'm doing in play, it's really good to play in another environment. One of the things that for me really lends itself to artistic playtime in my life is that I've got my stuff for my collage and mixed media pieces kind of where I need it to be. Okay, so things are organized. I know where the card is. I know where the paints are. I've got a suitcase where everything is kind of packed as a Girl Scout would pack. Okay, like, so I know where things are. I know where my special spray glue is, where my scissors are, and that makes it much easier. I have less of an excuse because it's not like, oh, well, I'd love to have an arty play session, but I don't know where things are and I don't know where I would sit and I can't really think about. No, it's all there. So in the same way as you would take a kid into a playroom and they would have like a range of toys to choose from and they're all there and they're all kind of coded. You've got the books, you've got the figures that you play with, you've got whatever. So the kid has a sense of the potential because those things are there. My inner artist and my inner child need that feeling. So my inner witch archetype is satiated by me having a sense of ritual around the play. And then my artist and my child inside, they both need to feel like there is an environment where I'm happy in terms of like, I've got some food in the fridge and I've got milk to make tea and I've got enough light. I've got a little bit of clear floor, and I know where things are basically. So I do my art on my living room floor with a lovely cushion under me for my back. And, I've got an easel, I've got a palette, I've got like this art section of my living room. I actually call it the art section. It's just behind my door in my living room. I close the door, I get the stuff out, and it's just like, it's heavenly because I feel like I've really rolled out the play mat almost. So for me, part of having a desirable environment is having that suitcase and having also that little tray that I've got underneath my art table that's got like the different kinds of card in it, and then whatever art piece I was working on last. It just feels like I've set myself up to come home to my inner playful artist. Another way that I make the environment desirable for myself is I try to make it casual. When I'm having arty playtime, I really want to be watching something. So I had an arty playtime session earlier today, and I just put on The Factory Girl, that film about Edie Sedgwick with Sienna Miller and Guy Pearce. And can I just say, I have never watched that film before. It's been on my to watch list for a long time. Can I just say, Guy Pearce as Andy Warhol blew my fucking banana right off my head. I mean, I knew Guy Pearce was like amazing actor, but you have to watch Guy Pearce being Andy Warhol. In fact, you have to watch Sienna Miller being Edie Sedgwick. Just watch Factory Girl. It's just, wow. It was just, I know the story of Edie Sedgwick, but that was a really incredible journey. I put that on, you know, so I'd be like looking at that, and then I'd be like looking at what I was doing again, just playing with different ideas, creating different compositions, and then maybe taking a photo, but then putting it away, not sticking anything down, not committing to anything. Just trying to feel into what the vibe is for me lately. Like, what am I interested in? What do I notice that I'm picking out? Am I picking out flowers? Am I picking out faces? What am I doing? You know, does this feel like a religious vibe? Where do I think the inspiration is coming from for whatever it is that I'm playing with? You know, what have I seen lately that kind of looks like that? It's literally just a really lovely, sumptuous pajama rabbit hole. And I really like to have something to watch while I'm doing that. I prefer something to watch as opposed to something to listen to. I like that visual element. It makes me feel like I've got company, and I'm not alone, because like I don't feel alone. I'm not disturbed by the fact that I'm alone. I live alone, but more that I'm accompanied. Yeah, it's like I'm walking along with something that also could inspire me in some playful way at the same time. I've literally said to people before, you know, when they're in resistance to making visual art, I've said to them, get a sketchbook, open up the first page of the sketchbook, and I just want you to get some paint on your brush, and I want you to just pull the brush back like a catapult, and I want you to splat that first page. Fuck it up. And I guess the reason I'm saying that is because it's just a simple act that can make all of the difference when it comes to dropping your shoulders, easing the tension out of yourself, getting rid of that somber seriousness that makes you feel like now you have to do something, you know? I think it's really important for me when I'm journaling that I don't get anything I'm going to feel too precious about in terms of the book I'm using, because I'm going to fuck up. Some of my writing is going to be very fast, very feverish. You know, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to scribble things out, you know. It's a very emotional process for me, journaling. So I really don't want to feel like I've bought this thing that's so precious and it's silver gilded edges and oh my God. Like, I really don't like that. I did that to myself in the past when I was younger, and it sucked. I felt like everything had to be in this beautiful, you know, unbroken admiral's log handwriting. And I really need to feel like I can just blare in my journal, you know. I need to feel like I can just write a few words on a page and then be like, fucking on to the next thing. I need to feel like I can do that. And so it's really the same with anything that I feel like I'm using as a tool for any art that I'm creating. I need to feel like this is not a place where I've come with the obligation to be very precious and very exacting about what is going on. And if someone needs a separate art journal or sketchbook specifically for the artistic play sessions, yeah, that's what should happen. I know plenty of people who have an art journal that they consider to be a body of work that they are producing, and beautiful art journals. And then they have a scrappy journal that they throw in the bag when they want to go out and do something out. They've got scrap in there. They've got different ideas. They've got pages that are stuffed with things, and they've got pages where they just made a fucking mistake and then just turned it over. You know, a journal that they can really lean into for experimentation without the feeling of having to have this like long-term game plan or something that they can be proud of necessarily. And for me, I think people that find artistic play difficult can feel extremely proud of that scrappy experimentation art journal. If you start one of them and you know that you were in resistance to it and it was difficult, that you started it and you're just playing around in it, you should feel proud of that. That is a symbol of what you are giving to yourself. That is a visual symbol of the permission slip that you took a deep fucking breath and signed for yourself. Darlings, I've absolutely loved sharing some of these thoughts with you about being a playful artist that is just ambling along and just sailing down the rabbit hole, you know, to go to the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Thank you so much. I'd love to hear in the comments anything and everything that you have to say about letting yourself be playful and not take art too seriously, and not always feeling like you have to be in executive art mode, you know? Do you have enough belly laughs? Do you have enough relaxation and fun and curiosity and adventure when you are playing with your art materials, playing with your musical instruments, choreographing your dances, whatever it is that you do? You know, do you have enough play? Do you feel like you're in a situation where you don't make art at the moment really to any degree, and you would like to begin by engaging in artistic play and just having a good time? Let me know if there's anything in this video that inspired you, and if there are any other videos you want me to make on this topic. If you would like to become a patron, I do offer lots of exclusive bits and pieces over on Patreon, so please come along and have a look. I'll leave all the details down below for you. And if you would like to have an art journal session with me one-on-one, where we sit together with our art journals, I do actually do them, and people do actually buy them. Thank you to everyone who's ever bought one of my art journal sessions. It's called a Journal with Me session. I'll leave the details down below. I do written Journal with Me sessions, and I also do the art Journal with Me sessions. We decide on what we're going to be doing for the hour. We talk to each other while we're doing it. We show each other what we've done in our art journals, and we share and kind of show and tell why we did what we did and what we were feeling. So it's really a lovely intimate session that I really enjoy having with anyone who has that kind of like daring vulnerability to be in their playful artist archetype with someone else who's being in theirs. So if you want to do that with me, a bit of a random, different, special kind of thing to buy for yourself, but go ahead and get booked into my schedule. Darlings, thank you so much again for spending this time with me. It's always a pleasure. Much love, and keep it rebellious. Blessed be.